Napa Valley, California. Cousin Rachel's wedding. Ethan Mitchell's heart pounded like a drum solo as he surveyed the perfectly manicured vineyard where his entire extended family had gathered. 3 tables of curious aunts, chattering cousins, and his grandmother Rose, the family matriarch who'd made finding him a girlfriend her personal mission. "Where's this mysterious Emma you keep talking about?" Grandma Rose gripped his arm with surprising strength for her 82 years. 2 years of dating and you've never brought her to a single family event. What are you hiding, sweetheart? Ethan's throat went dry. Emma had never existed. She was a fictional girlfriend he'd invented to escape the endless blind dates his family orchestrated. A perfect lie that had worked beautifully. Until now. She's in the restroom, Grandma. For 30 minutes? Aunt Patricia swooped in like a social hawk, her wine glass already half empty. "Ethan, honey, are you sure this girl is even real?" Panic crawled up his throat. In about 60 seconds, his entire family would know he'd been lying for 2 years. His cousin Marcus would never let him live it down. His mother would launch into full matchmaker mode. And Grandma Rose would probably faint from the disappointment. The wedding photographer suddenly appeared beside their table. "Excuse me, are you Ethan Mitchell? The bride asked me to get some shots of you with your girlfriend. She said Emma's here somewhere?" Every eye at the table locked onto him. The photographer's camera hung ready. His family leaned forward expectantly. Ethan's brain short-circuited. He spun around desperately, scanning the crowd of wedding guests. His eyes landed on a woman in a midnight blue dress standing alone by the dessert table, her back to him. Auburn hair swept up in an elegant updo. Perfect. There she is. Before rational thought could stop him, Ethan strode across the reception area with the confidence of a man who definitely knew what he was doing and absolutely wasn't about to make the biggest mistake of his life. The woman was reaching for a mini cheesecake when he approached from behind. "Emma, there you are," he said loudly enough for his family to hear. She turned around, and Ethan's world tilted on its axis. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, with striking amber eyes and a face that belonged in a classic painting. No, his world tilted because this woman was clearly not named Emma, definitely not his girlfriend, and was now staring at him like he'd sprouted wings. But his family was watching. The photographer had his camera raised, and Grandma Rose was already heading over with a triumphant smile. Ethan had exactly 1 second to make a choice. He kissed her. It was supposed to be quick. A brief peck to sell the charade until he could figure out an escape plan. But the moment their lips met, something electric shot through him. She tasted like champagne and strawberries, and for one impossible moment she kissed him back. Then reality crashed down like a collapsing house of cards. She pushed him away, her eyes blazing with fury. "What on earth do you think you're—" "Perfect." The photographer's flash went off. That's exactly what the bride wanted. Such a romantic moment. The mystery woman's mouth fell open. Ethan's family erupted in cheers behind them, and Ethan Mitchell realized he had approximately 30 seconds to explain to this gorgeous, furious stranger why he'd just kissed her in front of 50 people, and why she was now apparently his fake girlfriend. "I can explain," he whispered urgently. Her eyebrow arched dangerously. "This better be spectacular." Napa Valley, California, 30 seconds after the kiss. "Spectacular?" Ethan's voice cracked like a teenager's. "Right. Spectacular explanation. I can do that." The mystery woman crossed her arms, her amber eyes narrowing to dangerous slits. "You have 20 seconds before I start screaming." "Ethan!" Grandma Rose's voice cut through the vineyard like a foghorn. She was barreling toward them with the determination of a woman who'd finally caught her grandson in a lie. "There you are, dear. And this must be Emma." The woman's head whipped between Ethan and his approaching grandmother. "Emma? Who's Emma?" "You are," Ethan whispered desperately. "Please, just play along for 2 minutes. I'll explain everything, I promise." "Are you completely insane?" "Probably," he admitted. "But my grandmother has a weak heart, and if she finds out I've been lying about having a girlfriend for 2 years, she might actually—" Emma, sweetheart. Grandma Rose reached them, moving faster than Ethan had seen her move since her hip replacement. She immediately pulled the stunned woman into a bone-crushing hug. Oh, you're even more beautiful than Ethan described, though he certainly undersold those gorgeous eyes of yours. The woman, definitely not Emma, stood frozen in his grandmother's embrace, her gaze shooting daggers at Ethan over Rose's silver hair. Thank you, Mrs. Rose, dear, just Rose. We're practically family. His grandmother stepped back, beaming. Now, I have to ask, when is this grandson of mine going to put a ring on your finger? 2 years is long enough to know, don't you think? Ethan watched the color drain from not Emma's face. This was going from bad to catastrophic. Actually, Grandma, we're taking things slow. Slow? Aunt Patricia appeared like a heat-seeking missile, wine glass in hand. Honey, at your age, slow is how you end up alone with cats. Emma, sweetie, you need to light a fire under this boy. A fire, not Emma repeated weakly. Patricia, leave them alone, came a new voice. Ethan's mother, Claire, approached with the measured step of a woman who could smell drama from 3 counties away. Emma, I'm Claire, Ethan's mother. I've been dying to meet you. The poor woman looked like she was trapped in a nightmare. Ethan had to do something. Mom, Emma's a little overwhelmed by meeting everyone at once. Overwhelmed? Nonsense! Grandma Rose waved dismissively. Emma, dear, tell us about yourself. What do you do for work? Where did you two meet? Do you want children? I'm not. Emma's eyes darted around desperately before landing on the vineyard sign behind them. I'm a sommelier. Ethan blinked. That was actually brilliant. A sommelier. His mother clapped her hands together. How fascinating. Where do you work? Here, not Emma said quickly, then seemed to realize her mistake. I mean, not here specifically, but in Napa. I consult for various vineyards. Aunt Patricia leaned in conspiratorially. And the wedding? How romantic that you two are attending a wedding together. Practice for your own, perhaps? The woman's composure finally cracked. Look, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding at all. Grandma Rose beamed. Young love is beautiful. Though I do think it's time we got that engagement announcement, don't you, Claire? Ethan's mother nodded enthusiastically. I couldn't agree more. Emma, you'll have to come to Sunday dinner next week. The whole family will want to meet you properly. Sunday dinner, not Emma repeated faintly. With the whole family, Aunt Patricia added helpfully. About 35 people, give or take. That's when not Emma's knees buckled slightly. Ethan caught her arm. You know what? Emma's been traveling all morning. He improvised quickly. Maybe we should let her get some fresh air. Of course. His mother's face creased with concern. How thoughtless of us. Go on, you two lovebirds. We'll catch up more at dinner. Ethan practically dragged the shell-shocked woman away from his family toward a quieter corner of the vineyard. When they were safely out of earshot, she spun on him. 35 people? Sunday dinner? Are you completely out of your mind? Look, I know this looks bad. Looks bad? Her voice pitched higher. You kissed a complete stranger, told your entire family I'm your girlfriend, and now I'm apparently a sommelier named Emma, who's expected at family dinner. Technically, you came up with the sommelier part, Ethan pointed out. Her amber eyes flashed dangerously. Don't you dare put this on me. You're right. You're absolutely right. He ran his hands through his hair. This is completely my fault, but please, just hear me out. My family has been trying to set me up for years. My grandmother literally has a notebook full of potential wives. I invented Emma to buy myself some peace, but I never thought they'd actually want to meet her. So you thought you'd just grab the nearest woman and hope for the best? Well, when you put it like that, it sounds really stupid. It is really stupid. They stared at each other for a moment. Then, unexpectedly, her lips twitched. This is insane, she murmured. Completely insane, Ethan agreed. But, would you consider helping me out? Just for today? I swear I'll figure out a way to get you out of this without embarrassing either of us. She studied his face for a long moment. What's your real name? Ethan Mitchell. And you're definitely not Emma. Definitely not. I'm Sophia Chen. She paused. And I can't believe I'm even considering this, but your grandmother seems really sweet. She is. She just wants me to be happy. And lying to her makes you happy? Ethan winced. No. It makes me temporarily less miserable. There's a difference. Despite herself, Sophia almost smiled. You're terrible at this. At what? Being charming. Most guys who randomly kiss strangers at weddings are at least good at talking their way out of trouble. Would you believe me if I said this was my first random stranger kiss? Actually, yes. You look like you're about to throw up. They stood there in the fading California sunlight, surrounded by the gentle hum of wedding festivities and the distant laughter of his family. Ethan realized he was holding his breath. So, Sophia said finally, tell me about Emma. Napa Valley Vineyard, under the string lights. Ethan stared at Sophia, trying to figure out where to begin explaining 2 years of elaborate fiction. The wedding reception continued around them, string lights casting a warm glow over the vineyard as couples swayed to a jazz quartet. Emma, he said finally, is supposedly a pediatric nurse from Portland. She has a rescue dog named Biscuit, makes the world's best chocolate chip cookies, and is allergic to shellfish. Sophia's eyebrows rose. You've really thought this through? I had to. My family asks follow-up questions. Ethan loosened his tie, feeling the weight of his deception. She volunteers at animal shelters on weekends, loves hiking, and has a small scar on her left hand from a childhood accident involving a bicycle and a very unfortunate fence. Wow, that's incredibly specific. My cousin Marcus is a detective. He notices details. They were interrupted by the sound of clapping as the bride and groom took the dance floor for their first dance. The crowd gathered around, and Ethan felt Sophia stiffen beside him as his family spotted them again. There they are! Grandma Rose waved them over. Come on, you two, family photos! Before either could protest, they were swept into the crowd of Mitchell family members assembling for pictures. Ethan found himself with Sophia pressed against his side, her hand resting lightly on his chest as the photographer arranged them. Act natural, she whispered through her smile. I don't remember what natural feels like anymore, he whispered back. Big smile, Emma, called out Uncle Bob, Ethan's father's brother, who had the unfortunate habit of speaking in exclamation points. Welcome to the crazy Mitchell clan. Sophia's smile brightened automatically. Thank you, everyone's been so welcoming. The photographer snapped away while Ethan marveled at how easily she slipped into the role. She laughed at Uncle Bob's terrible jokes, complimented Aunt Patricia's dress, and even managed to look genuinely interested when his teenage cousin Tyler started explaining his latest video game obsession. She's perfect for you, Grandma Rose whispered to Ethan during a brief lull. Don't you dare let this one get away. Guilt twisted in his stomach like a knife. Grandma, I mean it, Ethan. That girl looks at you like you hung the moon and you light up like a Christmas tree when she smiles. That's the real thing, sweetheart. Ethan glanced at Sophia, who was now deep in conversation with his mother about wine pairings. She was animated, gesturing with her hands, completely at ease despite the insane situation they were in. When she laughed at something his mother said, the sound sent an unexpected flutter through his chest. May I have everyone's attention? The bride, Rachel, appeared with a microphone, glowing in her wedding dress. I wanted to thank everyone for being here to celebrate with Derek and me, but I have a special announcement. The crowd quieted, glasses raised expectantly. Some of you might not know this, but my cousin Ethan has been hiding his girlfriend from us for 2 years. Rachel beamed at them. But tonight, we finally get to meet the famous Emma. Ethan, bring her up here. Ethan's blood turned to ice water. Sophia went very still beside him. Come on, Rachel continued, oblivious to their panic. I want everyone to meet the woman who finally tamed my workaholic cousin. The crowd began chanting, Emma, Emma, and suddenly there was no escape. Uncle Bob was literally pushing them forward, and Sophia shot Ethan a look that clearly said, You owe me big time for this. They found themselves on the makeshift stage next to Rachel, facing a sea of expectant faces. The microphone appeared in Sophia's hand. "Hi, everyone," she said, her voice only slightly shaky. "I'm Emma, and I have to say, Ethan's told me so much about all of you that I feel like I already know you. Tell us how you two met," someone called out. Sophia glanced at Ethan, panic flickering in her eyes. He stepped closer, taking the microphone. "We met at a coffee shop," he said, remembering the story he'd told his mother months ago. "Emma was reading this massive book about wine regions, and I made some terrible joke about how she must be studying for a really specific final exam. It was the worst pickup line I'd ever heard." Sophia picked up seamlessly, and the crowd laughed. "But he looked so mortified that I felt sorry for him. Plus, he bought me a chocolate croissant to make up for it. And the rest is history," Rachel declared, clearly delighted. "Now I think it's time for all the couples to join us on the dance floor." The jazz quartet launched into a slow version of "The Way You Look Tonight," and suddenly Ethan found himself leading Sophia onto the dance floor. She moved into his arms with surprising grace, one hand on his shoulder, the other clasped in his. "How did you know about the coffee shop story?" he asked as they began to sway. "Lucky guess, you seem like the type who would rehearse a meet-cute story." Her amber eyes met his. "Though I have to ask, what happens when your family wants to meet my family? Or when they expect us to have couple friends? What about social media photos, birthday parties, Christmas?" Each question hit him like a small hammer blow. He hadn't thought any of this through. I was hoping to figure something out before it got that complicated." "Ethan." Her voice was gentle but firm. "This was already complicated the moment you kissed me." They danced in silence for a moment, and Ethan became acutely aware of how perfectly she fit in his arms. She smelled like jasmine and vanilla, and when she looked up at him, something in his chest tightened. "Why did you invent Emma in the first place?" she asked softly. Ethan sighed, his thumb unconsciously tracing circles on her hand. "My ex-fiancée, Amanda, left me at the altar 3 years ago. Literally. I was standing there in my tux and she just didn't show up. Turned out she'd been having doubts for months but didn't know how to tell me." Sophia's expression softened. "That's awful." The worst part was everyone's reaction afterward. The pity, the constant attempts to set me up with their cousin's friend's sister. My family meant well, but I felt like a broken toy they were trying to fix. He met her eyes. Emma was supposed to be temporary, just a buffer until everyone moved on to worrying about someone else's love life. But they didn't move on. No. If anything, they got more invested. Grandma Rose started talking about great-grandchildren. My mother bought Emma a Christmas present last year. "What kind of present?" "A scarf. It's still in my closet with the tags on." Despite everything, Sophia smiled. "That's actually really sweet." "It's horrifying. I have a closet full of gifts for an imaginary person, and now I'm dancing with a beautiful stranger who's pretending to be her." The words hung between them, and Ethan realized what he'd just said. Sophia's cheeks flushed slightly. "You think I'm beautiful?" "I think you're incredible," he said honestly. "You've been handling this insane situation with more grace than I would have thought possible. Most people would have run screaming by now." "The night's still young," she said, but she was smiling. The song ended, but they didn't immediately separate. Around them, other couples chatted and laughed, but Ethan felt like he and Sophia were in their own bubble. "Ethan," she said quietly, "what happens tomorrow?" Before he could answer, a new voice cut through the moment like a cold blade. Well, Ethan Mitchell." They turned to see a woman in a sleek black dress approaching, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her smile sharp as broken glass. Ethan's stomach dropped to his feet. "Amanda," he breathed. His ex-fiancée extended a perfectly manicured hand to Sophia. "And you must be the famous Emma I've been hearing so much about. I'm Amanda Thornfield, Ethan's former fiancée." Sophia's hand tightened slightly on Ethan's arm, and he could feel the tension radiating from her. Amanda's presence changed everything. This wasn't just about fooling his loving family anymore. This was about to become a battlefield. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Emma," Amanda continued, her voice honey-sweet and poison-laced. "I have so many questions about how you and Ethan got together. We have so much to catch up on." Napa Valley Vineyard, the confrontation. The air around them seemed to crystallize as Amanda Thornfield stood there in her perfectly tailored black dress, looking like she'd stepped off the pages of a high-end fashion magazine. Every blonde hair was in place, every detail of her appearance calculated for maximum impact. Sophia could feel Ethan's entire body tense beside her, his hand unconsciously tightening on her waist. "Amanda," Ethan managed, his voice carefully neutral. "I didn't know you'd be here." "Rachel and I reconnected through yoga class," Amanda replied smoothly, her ice blue eyes never leaving Sophia's face. "When she mentioned her cousin's wedding, I simply had to come support her. And imagine my surprise when I heard that you'd finally found someone special." The word "finally" dripped with subtle condescension, and Sophia felt her protective instincts flare. She'd only known Ethan for 2 hours, but something about Amanda's predatory smile made her want to step between them like a shield. "It's lovely to meet you," Sophia said, extending her hand with a warm smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Ethan's mentioned you, of course." Amanda's handshake was brief and cold. "All good things, I hope?" "He's remarkably gracious about the past," Sophia replied, and she felt Ethan's surprised glance. "It takes real character to speak kindly about someone who hurt you." A flicker of something dangerous passed through Amanda's expression before she recovered her perfect composure. "Hurt him? Oh, my dear. I think there's been some miscommunication about what happened between us." "Ladies," Ethan interjected quickly. "Maybe we should—" No, Amanda waved a dismissive hand. "Emma deserves to know the truth about her boyfriend's past, don't you think? After all, honesty is so important in a relationship." The irony wasn't lost on any of them, but Amanda continued blithely on. "You see, Emma, Ethan and I simply realized we wanted different things. I was ready for adventure, for growth, for expanding my horizons. But Ethan," she tilted her head sympathetically, "well, he's always been more comfortable with routine, predictability. Some might say he's afraid of taking real risks." Sophia felt a surge of indignation on Ethan's behalf. Taking risks? Like kissing a complete stranger at a wedding reception? The words were out before she could stop them, and she immediately regretted the implication. But Amanda's eyes sharpened with interest. "How wonderfully spontaneous. Though I have to say, Emma, you look remarkably familiar. Have we met before? You remind me of someone." Ethan's panic was almost palpable now. "Amanda, I think—" "Oh!" Amanda snapped her fingers, her face lighting up with false recognition. "I know exactly who you remind me of. There's a sommelier at this darling little wine bar in San Francisco who looks just like you. Sophia something. Chen, I think. She does private tastings for our firm sometimes." The blood drained from Sophia's face. Of all the impossible coincidences in the world, Amanda actually knew who she was. "How interesting," Amanda continued, watching Sophia's reaction like a cat with a cornered mouse. "She's quite talented, actually. Specializes in Burgundian wines, if I remember correctly. Such a small world, isn't it?" Sophia's mind raced. Denial would be pointless now. Amanda clearly recognized her, but admitting the truth would destroy Ethan in front of his entire family. She could see them out of the corner of her eye. Grandma Rose chatting happily with other relatives, completely unaware that their perfect evening was about to implode. "Amanda," Ethan said quietly, a warning in his voice. "What are you doing?" "Just catching up with old friends and making new ones," Amanda replied innocently. "Though I am curious about one thing, Emma. Or should I say, Sophia. How exactly did a professional sommelier from San Francisco end up being Ethan's girlfriend from Portland? That's quite a commute for a relationship." The moment stretched like a taut wire. Sophia could feel the weight of Ethan's family's expectations, the warmth of his grandmother's earlier embrace, the genuine affection in his mother's eyes. These people had welcomed her like family based on a lie, but their love for Ethan was absolutely real, and Amanda was about to destroy all of it for what? Revenge? Spite? The satisfaction of proving she could still hurt the man she'd abandoned. "You're absolutely right," Sophia said suddenly, her voice clear and steady. "I am Sophia Chen." Ethan's sharp intake of breath was audible, but she continued before he could speak. "I lied about my name when we met because I was dealing with a difficult client situation and didn't want to mix my professional and personal life. It was silly, really, but by the time I realized how much Ethan's family meant to him, it felt too awkward to correct." She looked directly at Amanda. "Ethan knows, of course. He's been gently teasing me about it for months, haven't you, honey?" The endearment rolled off her tongue naturally, and she felt Ethan's surprise transform into something warmer. "Every chance I get," he said, his voice gaining strength. "Though I still think Emma suits you better." "See?" Sophia laughed, the sound light and natural. "He's impossible. But yes, I do specialize in Burgundian wines, and I have done some consulting work. It's wonderful that we have that connection, Amanda." Small world indeed. Amanda's perfect composure cracked slightly. She'd clearly expected her revelation to cause more damage. "How convenient," she said slowly. "And you currently live in Portland?" "Actually, I've been spending more and more time here in California," Sophia improvised smoothly. "Ethan's been very patient with my somewhat nomadic lifestyle. The wine industry keeps me traveling quite a bit." "Nomadic," Amanda repeated, and Sophia could practically see the wheels turning in her head. How exhausting that must be for your relationship. All that distance, all those opportunities to meet new people. The implication was clear, and this time Ethan stepped forward. "Amanda, that's enough. I'm just concerned for you, darling." Amanda's voice dripped false sympathy. "Long-distance relationships are so challenging. The temptation, the loneliness. I'd hate to see you get hurt again." "The only person who ever hurt me," Ethan said quietly, "is standing right in front of me. And I got over that a long time ago." Something flickered across Amanda's face. Surprise, perhaps even hurt. For a moment her perfect mask slipped, and Sophia caught a glimpse of something vulnerable underneath. "Ethan." "No." His voice was firm but not unkind. "You made your choice 3 years ago. You decided I wasn't enough, that our life together wasn't enough. And you know what? You were probably right. We weren't right for each other." He turned to Sophia, and the warmth in his eyes took her breath away. "But this," he gestured between them, "this feels different. Sophia challenges me, surprises me, makes me want to be better. She sees possibilities I never considered and makes even ordinary moments feel like adventures." As he spoke, Sophia realized with a jolt that he wasn't just performing for Amanda anymore. There was something real in his voice, something that made her heart skip erratically. "That's lovely," Amanda said, but her voice had lost its sharp edge. "I'm sure you'll be very happy together." The dismissal was clear, but as she turned to leave, she paused and looked back at Sophia. "You know, I really do hope things work out for you two." "But Sophia," her voice softened almost imperceptibly, "be careful. Ethan has a tendency to fall in love with the idea of someone rather than who they really are. Just make sure he's seeing the real you." With that cryptic warning, she melted back into the crowd, leaving Ethan and Sophia standing alone on the edge of the dance floor. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of what had just happened settling between them. "I'm sorry," Ethan said finally. "I should have warned you that she might be here. I should have—" "Stop." Sophia placed a gentle hand on his arm. "You don't need to apologize for her behavior. But what she said about the name thing, about recognizing you, was handled." Sophia met his eyes. "We're okay. Your family still thinks we're the perfect couple, and Amanda's little power play backfired." "Yeah, but—" Ethan paused, studying her face. "Why did you do that? You could have let her expose everything. It would have gotten you out of this mess." Sophia considered the question seriously. Why had she protected him? Why had she cared more about his family's feelings than her own escape route? "Your grandmother bought Emma a Christmas scarf," she said softly. "That kind of love, it deserves protecting." Ethan's expression grew tender. "Sophia. Plus," she added quickly, trying to lighten the moment, "Amanda was really getting on my nerves. There's something deeply satisfying about disappointing a mean girl." That earned her a genuine laugh, and the tension between them eased. "Dance with me again?" he asked, extending his hand. "Are you sure you can handle another slow song without Amanda swooping in to cause more drama?" "I'm willing to risk it if you are." As they moved back onto the dance floor, Sophia became acutely aware that something had shifted between them. The desperate panic of their earlier interactions had been replaced by something warmer, more genuine. When Ethan pulled her close this time, it didn't feel like an act. "What she said at the end," Sophia said quietly as they swayed to the music, "about you falling in love with ideas rather than reality. Was there truth in that?" Ethan was quiet for so long that Sophia thought he might not answer. "Maybe," he admitted finally. "With Amanda, I think I was more in love with the idea of being engaged, of having everything figured out, than I was with her specifically. When she left, it wasn't just heartbreak. It was this terrible realization that maybe I'd been living in a fantasy." "Is that why you created Emma? Another fantasy?" "No." His response was immediate and certain. Emma was supposed to be a shield, not a dream. Just protection from having to try again. They danced in comfortable silence, and Sophia found herself studying his face in the soft vineyard lighting. There were laugh lines around his eyes, a small scar on his chin that spoke of childhood adventures, a gentleness in his expression that suggested he was exactly the kind of man who would buy Christmas presents for an imaginary girlfriend, rather than disappoint his grandmother. "Ethan? What happens now? Amanda knows who I really am. Even if she doesn't say anything tonight, she could cause problems later." Ethan's hand tightened slightly on her waist. "I don't know. I guess I'll have to figure out how to untangle this mess without hurting anyone else." "Anyone else meaning your family?" "Anyone else meaning you," he corrected softly. "You've already done more than I had any right to ask. I can't keep dragging you deeper into my complications." But as he said it, Sophia realized she wasn't entirely sure she wanted to be untangled from his complications. Standing here in his arms, surrounded by the warmth of his family's love and the magical atmosphere of the vineyard, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time. She felt like she belonged. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it filled her with a dangerous kind of hope. "What if," she said carefully, "I don't mind being a little more tangled up?" Ethan's steps faltered slightly. "Sophia, I'm just saying, hypothetically, that maybe we don't have to figure everything out tonight. Maybe we could just see what happens." He stopped dancing entirely, pulling back to search her face. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" "I'm suggesting," she said, her heart hammering against her ribs, "that maybe your family's Christmas dinner invitation doesn't have to be the worst thing that's ever happened to either of us." For a moment, they stood frozen in the middle of the dance floor, the weight of possibility hanging between them like a bridge neither was quite ready to cross. Then Ethan smiled, a real, genuine, heart-stopping smile that made Sophia understand exactly why his family was so determined to see him happy. "Sophia Chen," he said, "would you like to be my fake girlfriend for a little while longer?" "Ethan Mitchell," she replied, surprising herself with how much she meant it. "I thought you'd never ask." San Francisco, California. 1 week later. Sophia stared at her reflection in her apartment's full-length mirror, second-guessing her outfit choice for the third time in 10 minutes. The navy blue dress was professional but not stuffy, elegant but not overdressed, perfect for meeting Ethan's parents for their first official couples dinner at an upscale restaurant in Union Square. The problem wasn't the dress. The problem was that somewhere between the vineyard last weekend and this moment, the line between pretending and reality had become dangerously blurred. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Outside whenever you're ready. No pressure, but my mom has been planning this dinner since Tuesday and may actually combust from excitement if we're late. Despite her nerves, Sophia smiled. Over the past week, they'd exchanged dozens of texts under the guise of coordinating their story. But their conversations had evolved far beyond logistics. He'd sent her photos of his morning coffee with increasingly ridiculous latte art attempts. She'd shared pictures of the spectacular sunset from her wine bar's rooftop terrace. They debated everything from the merits of French versus Italian winemaking techniques to whether pineapple belonged on pizza, a surprisingly heated discussion that lasted 3 hours and revealed that Ethan was far more passionate about food than she'd initially realized. The casual intimacy of their text exchanges felt more natural than any relationship she'd had in years, which was precisely the problem. Grabbing her purse and a light jacket, Sophia headed downstairs to find Ethan leaning against a sleek black sedan, looking unfairly handsome in a charcoal gray suit that perfectly complemented his dark hair. When he saw her, his face lit up with the kind of genuine smile that made her stomach do small somersaults. "You look incredible," he said, straightening up.